Gamers, gals, non-binary pals, we're live from Twitch HQ, here to report the Schmitterson has won the YCS. This is his 4th YCS win, and I want to give a quick little breakdown regarding what I think about the format, what I think about the decks that topped, and oh my god, this format is so diverse. Arguably a little too diverse, but when you look at a graph like this, the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, this is a very healthy format that so many decks are able to see widespread play that all play relatively different from each other. And I think that's one of the signs of a very healthy and fun format for the average semi-casual, semi-competitive player. Like, you could play Tier Limit, you could play Rescuers, you could play Lab, you could play Fire King, you could play Makonko, you could play Pearly, you could play so many different little decks that all play almost completely different from each other, and they're all relatively competitively successful. And I think that's amazing. And the second thing is that, oh my god, side decking becomes insta-hell. Because now your side deck has to be split between so many decks, and in certain matchups, your side deck is just completely dead. You can't really put in evenly matched for like Rescue Ace, and then it's just completely dead versus Pearly. You can't put in Daruma Cannon versus Makonko because it's going to be dead versus like Labyrinth and Tier Limit. There are too many decks within the format that makes side decking and card choice extremely difficult. So as a result, some players might actually just end up losing games, not because like they performed bad or anything like that, but just because they got a bad matchup spread. Like, it's just impossible to cover all those bases. And I think that's a really cool thing about the format, that not every single side deck is relatively cookie cutter, and you could just like tech one thing to beat the main deck of the format. Kind of like how Tier Limit basically made you play like 12 cards in the main and 12 cards in the side just to beat it. But at the same time, it can be very frustrating for players to be playing a pretty tight deck and to be extremely limited on card choice. Fuck diverse formats. I hate side decking for this reason. Now, this is where you do the cool thing. You play Labyrinth because Labyrinth has so much non-engine space, and you can just play dumbass normal traps that just beat every deck. You want to beat Rescue Ace? Just play Daruma Cannon. Want to beat Tier Limit? Just play D-Barrier. Want to beat Fire King? Good luck with that. We're kind of fucked versus this deck. That's like one of the main reasons why I play Lab, actually. Just because Labyrinth's side decking patterns basically just require you to play like one card. So, regarding deck breakdown, I think a lot of us kind of saw it coming. Like Tier Limit, Rescue Ace, I'm pretty sure everyone expected these decks to be the top decks of the format, being that these two are just extremely powerful decks. But one thing I did want to notice was that Unchained has been falling off. It really is very, 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 very interesting that Unchained went from being arguably like the best deck in this format. Like, when you look at like YCS Vancouver, or you maybe look at like YCS Dortmund, or you look at like YCS Cancun when Cashera was being played for some psychotic reason. Like, Unchained just dominated these events. But all of a sudden, even though like arguably the second or first best deck in the format doesn't have a great Unchained matchup, it's just very interesting how far Unchained has fallen. Like, it's not Unchained as a bad deck. It's just a deck that's very telegraphed in what it does. Like, Unchained is still a very good deck. It's like definitely a tier 1 deck. It's just interesting to see like less and less players play Unchained and transition to decks with way more impactful boards that don't lose to like a single Ash Boss. Or like you get impermed on Tour Guide and you just realize you have to pass turn. Like, Unchained is one of those decks where like if your main play gets stopped, you better open the fucking 2-card combo in your hand of like Shavara and a trap card, or like a Ruha and a trap card, or like you're just completely cooked. The fact that Unchained has to play so linearly and tight with its game plan in terms of what it has to do to even get its basic combo off, as well as the fact that it's pretty interruptible and doesn't really have that much wiggle room in what it can even set up in the first place, as well as the fact that like what it sets up arguably doesn't even win the game most of the time, because a lot of decks in this format are extremely prepared to grind. That's just what makes Unchained, in my opinion, way less appealing to play, in my personal opinion, in this particular format. And the second thing I'm pretty sure everyone is talking about, god damn, the Schmitterson does it again. Jay Schmidt did it with a deck nobody saw coming except for me and one other guy, but it was mainly me. I will take all the credit for this. We topped a regional with this shit. We were doing this since November 6, 2023. We were always summoning Quem. The general idea of Runic Bestial is you're playing a card. Oh my god, he's playing one Cartesia. Goddamn. Is you're using Quem, Cartesia, Ninja and Aliber as this sort of little synchro engine to just generate and draw a shit ton of cards through like Coral Dragon and Tri-Edge Master and like Baronne de Fleur in order to set up like synchro 10s. You're just making like this sort of little mid-range board, and you're using the Bestials as level 6 extenders, as well as just a little resource engine with Branded Regain to just keep drawing cards. And then you have the Runics to sort of back up that strategy in order to just generating resources and just decking your opponent out, because this deck doesn't aim to win by like the battle phase. I mean, like, you will eventually just punch them in the face really hard, but this deck aims to just kill your opponent in like one big swing, and they just drain you out of resources using their Runics and their 1-for-1s and the Bestials and the Branded Regain. They just build up their whole board over and over and over and over again, and they just drain you of resources until you have like one guy left. Then they just don't use any Runic cards, and then they just OTK with big ass bodies like Chaos Angel and Dissipator and Baron and Chenging. And I think that's a really unique strategy. I think that's like super duper cool. Even though Labyrinth has like a 0% win rate versus this deck, it's really cool to see a deck like this take form. Holy shit, it's Denko Sekka. Fewer Cartesia because of a big duality package. That's true. Another thing I did want to mention is that duality finally sees play in a deck that isn't fucking branded. What a fake ass deck, dude. Oh my god, how did branded even make top 64? So duality is something that Jesse decided not to play, because he mentioned that even though you do have a bunch of duality lines, he doesn't like playing engine cards that aren't really starters. Joshua decided to play it because fuck it, bro. I want to make more high impact plays. And duality gives you a lot of cool stuff to do. Like, you could duality target Hugin in order to like dodge an imperm to go into Alvain, the Essence of Vanity, which is a tuner where you can use that and a level 8 to go into like a level 10. You could use like a normal summon like Aluber to go into the Coral Dragon or Tri-Edge Master. You could go duality into a Lubellion in order to make a Scarlight if you need to burn in time. There's a lot of cool things that duality lets you do, and I think just having this new option is just extremely cool. Also, I hate that Maxi got unbanned in Yu-Gi-Oh! No, Maxi itself didn't get unbanned, but everyone is playing the new Maxi, Ghost Sister, and Spooky Dogwood. And I think that if you're playing an extremely slow, grindy control deck like this one, you have to play this card. If you're playing any deck with runic cards in it, you have to side deck Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood if you don't want to lose in time. This card is essentially just a fucking Maxi. It's insane. Your opponent's never gonna kill you. You're always gonna be up on life points in that game 3 scenario. You've got Scarlight. They can't really Scarlight you or Scattershot you because you're gonna be up like 10,000 life points. Or they just have to pass their turn, and turns out you could just do your own dumbass combo play and be like, haha, Scarlight XD. And secondly, I wanted to give a quick little shout out to Korean, the greatest Spanish duelist of all time. And it's top with Labyrinth, where he accidentally punted game 3 versus Joshua Schmidt in top 4.
Oh, right, of course. The Chaos Angel protects all dark monsters.
But I am really happy that Labyrinth is finally seeing way more competitive success relative to what it kind of was for most of its existence. It was like a tier 2 deck that got like 1 or 2 tops that just snuck in randomly. As the format gets more and more developed and people are starting to play way more control heavy decks, or decks that need to have an extremely strong grind game that are able to set up strong turn 1s, the grindiest deck in the game right now is Labyrinth. Like, even Rescue Waits gets outgrinded by Labyrinth. It's insane. This deck can quite literally go infinite, especially now because we're playing like Keldo and Medora in order to beat stuff like Fire King and Tier Limit. Like, being able to recycle names, being able to recycle bodies, being able to recycle trap cards sometimes if you really need to. I think that's really cool, and I am really happy that this deck has developed in such a way that it's finally seeing real consistent competitive success. But overall, not really much to talk about in this event. I really like how the format's really diverse, even though side decking can be frustrating for decks that aren't exactly Labyrinth due to how wide the format is. Congratulations to Jay Schmidt, and may 1,000 years of Labyrinth reign on. Let me know what your favorite deck of the format is in the comment section down below, and yeah, goodbye forever.